I'd like to open the 7:30 January 13th meeting for Littleton Conservation Commission. And has anybody got any omissions or corrections to the minutes?
I think Anna is coming. I don't know if she's had a chance to look at the minutes. Do you want to table that? Or
Yeah, we can-
Okay, I haven't really, I've been trying to go through them. I didn't really have a chance to
Let's
go
come
through
back
them.
to them.
Okay. Land use permit, Oak Hill. Oak Hill.
There she is. Rachel Carlett from Parks and Rec was going to be here tonight to talk about this. This is for a park and recreation class called Yoga and Mindfulness Walking, a guided meditative hike in Oak Hill. I thought she was going to be here. You know, maybe
Okay.
just table until she
Yeah,
shows
we'll
up.
just table it, come back.
Hopefully she'll
Okay.
come.
Request for certificate of compliance, 5 Chestnut Lane.
They cleaned up the last bit of what they were supposed to clean up,
Good.
and it was the current owner who did it, so they know not to throw lawn clippings over the side. Well, theoretically, they know not to do lawn clippings anymore.
So any reason we can't sign off on that?
I think it's good to go.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah.
I move that we order a certificate of compliance for 5 Chestnut Lane, file number 214722.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
See if I remember how to do this. That needs signing.
Event?
Reinhardt is, I don't know if you know the name, he's a pretty famous planner, and he's having a talk in Harvard in the next couple weeks. Oh, here it is, if anyone's interested.
Specific to land planning?
It's
or-
for open space residential design for a conservation subdivision design. I don't know if anybody's interested in going. I'll pass this around. It's from 4 to 6 p.m. on February 6th in Harvard.
I actually went to a talk of his in Westford 3 or 4 years ago and it was really interesting. He's like the open space development
Oh,
guy.
he's like, yeah, he's the guy.
Lantern Walk Ski?
Jim O'Neill was wondering if you had any issues with them doing a nighttime walker ski. They put up lanterns out at Cloverdale. It probably wouldn't work this year because the part of it's not done.
Yep.
Next year?
So, yeah. Unless somebody thinks it's a really terrible idea, but it sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah.
So
Have they
lanterns.
got handrails
Oh,
on
does
the,
it?
Yeah.
is there some sort of handrails on the,
There's toe kicks, but there's no handrails. There's no railing.
You really lodge your ski in there, is that the
Oh,
idea?
yeah.
Now, I assume the lanterns aren't flame, right? They're like, or candle lanterns, they're.
LEDs, probably.
Yeah.
Light
He's also going to
battery?
spend time collecting the lanterns and getting all that part of it done. Or you just do it in full moon and forget the lanterns.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Hopefully there'll be snow.
well, that's what they're talking about the weekend, and Times Almanac says we're going to get hit in February.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah.
You could even do those
Similar to.
button push closet light things and just line them up on the edge.
So you like the tap lights?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim, has the almanac been accurate so far?
They say it's about 80%.
Well,
Personnel Board,
Just FYI, they did rate the assistant position, and we basically agreed it would be less than 19 hours, so it wouldn't be, have benefits on it, which would be cheaper for the town, obviously. So it's still got a ways to go, but at least it made that first step for getting rated.
and get it, I assume next step's presenting it to the selectmen, or?
To the select, yeah, the budget meetings are this week and next week, and ours is on the 21st, so it'll be in the budget as the stretch, or whatever they call it,
Mhm.
as part of that budget.
One of the things we talked about too at that meeting was that although we, reworked the fees recently, that there is space in the fees, so.
To go up?
Yeah, to help raise more. They would seem to, they're like, oh, well, there are any revenue sources, and so Amy went through our revenue sources, and then, we just did the fees, but there was, compared to other towns, there were several categories where it was like, okay, we're nowhere near them, but we don't want to do, a massive bump right away either. So,
Right.
so I think Nina was interested in us looking at, taking a relook at the fees sooner than later, and so
Yeah.
for the future discussion.
Okay.
Okay, septic system replacement policy.
This has come up, and actually it'll come up a little bit later tonight. That's what the informal discussion is at 8. Ted Doucette has come in and talk about that. About, when you file an RDA, when you file a notice of intent. So I started kind of trying to put it down into writing. So I don't know if you want to look at it and comment on it at another time, or go over it tonight if we have more time to fill.
Okay,
We got our empty things here. I really, what I basically said is if you're 50 feet away from the BBW, including grading, then you can probably do an RDA. If it's,
For
in
replacement.
line. Not a guarantee, but, and then if you're in the 50, yeah.
I looked at, the only question I had was that, do we need to make mention of the Rivers Act?
Yes, it should. More than 100 feet from perennial streams. I didn't talk,
Yeah, I think
In
to maybe
3C.
call it out.
Yeah.
just-
yeah.
okay. New circuit rider visit.
Just if, we do have a new circuit rider, Kim Roth, and as always, if there's an issue you want DEP to come in and talk about, they're usually pretty willing to come in and talk, so.
Okay,
And we can call them too, right?
Oh, yeah, we can call them, but if there's something you want to have a little bit more formally,
Okay.
general educational type stuff.
okay, Cloverdale Boardwalk update, mitigation area report.
Yeah, back when I thought I did do the wetland, the first year wetland mitigation, and take one, there's probably not enough for everybody who's close to it. So this is the wetland mitigation. It was gonna be 1.5 to 1, because it was only as required by the water quality certificate folks. It really came out to be about, came out to be about 3 to 1, and it's looking pretty good, so. Give it another year, and maybe, if it still looks good, come in next fall for a certificate of compliance for the whole boardwalk mitigation. Yeah, see, it's green.
It's green.
It's green, it's low, it's wet.
Yeah.
This was kind of the roadside of that berm or something.
Yeah. And this is because under the water quality cert, DEP said you have to mitigate for each piling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Or we just move along here? Light and water temporary bending pipeline.
Yeah, they have to put in this pipeline from,
Spec Pond to Whitcomb,
Oh,
Glen Water
yeah,
to
those
dilute the
PFAS.
PFAS.
what she said. It's basically gonna be a pipe laid on the ground.
Yeah.
I have I think you passed the letter too, maybe you're looking for it.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, it's not even gonna be buried?
No, they will directionally bore under driveways and stuff when this is temporary.
Oh.
And the roads, but fortunately for all those, they're outside the buffer zone where they have to do the boring. So I was just giving the administrative, like, you're fine, let me know when you start, and we'll go from there. So basically a no impact type thing.
Right, it's just sitting on top of the ground, it's a temporary structure. and if it
Exactly, yeah, they'll
leaks,
tuck it in
it's
up against
water.
stone walls or something.
Right.
They will have to have boring pits on either side of the roads, driveways and stuff that they
Right.
cross, but.
Wait a minute, it says most are outside the buffer zone? Or in general is exempt?
Yeah, they said all of them, I wanted to leave it a little open just in case
Oh,
they end up having to move something around.
oh,
Yeah, but if they come down 2A,
Yeah, 110.
On the north side. Well, they have to cross, they'll cross up near Spectacle Pond,
yeah,
and then it'll just go down the north side.
but, okay, then you gotta cross the depot or go
Gotta go past,
up. Getting across the tracks is gonna be interesting.
We got
Yeah, the
yes, we got
Yeah.
Okay. They're gonna cross 110 at Spec Pond rather than staying on the highway department side of the road?
no, the north side would be the
I don't think
What
I'm
am I
following.
looking
The north side would be the,
Great Road.
I thought I had this up, here we go.
Oh.
Where am I?
Oh, cross Spec Pond itself. I was thinking crossing 110.
then they have to go through.
What are they
fields,
gonna
but
do
have
when
to
they
go
get
through
to
fields?
the mining project going on 2A?
Yeah.
It is, it's mining. They like need earth moving permits, the DEP, to do what they're doing.
So they're going from here, can you see it up there?
Yeah, it's a round thing.
Yep. So they'll drop down to Great Road and stay on the north side of it. And then, where am I? All the way up to here, and then they'll cross before they get to Mason Brook, certainly, and hop up there. So the only place that they're near something, and then, so that they aren't getting anywhere near these wetlands down here, because they're crossing between these buildings
Right.
down here.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty clear path.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How are they gonna,
And for a utility replacement repair, that's a exempt project anyway, so.
Okay.
so will they tap into the line that comes under the tracks or something? And feed it back over to Wickham Ave?
I'm not sure where you are.
I had heard a rumor or something, they were gonna do something across the Kimball's place. Or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Kimball's is Kimball's Farm?
No, Foster Kimball's, which is where Fields is playing around digging gravel out.
Yeah, down on Air. This is up on Great Road.
Okay.
Great road.
This is,
Yeah. It's pretty.
here's the point.
Yeah.
So, they got the wells up here. So it's just going down here along Great Road and to the pump system. There's the end of Spectacle Pond.
Oh, I thought
Station up
I
there.
thought it was going, they would, what about the building they wanted to do on Wickham Avenue? At the big, I thought they were gonna tie spec into that one. That's,
Oh, that's just the existing system. The new treatment,
yeah.
water treatment plant that's going up in there. Yeah, that's all permitted, so.
But I thought
That's
that's where,
separate
I
from
thought,
this.
What?
That's separate from this.
Yeah.
oh, I thought.
This is their solution before they can get that plant built,
Okay.
because it's a strain on the water capacity to have only 2 well fields available.
Okay.
Good use of man.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, we got that.
Really happy about that.
What about the annual report?
Well, does anybody want to see it?
It's 7:45.
Okay. You wanna come up?
Yeah.
Kyle?
No plans? I guess it's
So I think you
discussion.
saw
I
this
just
before.
came for
This is
discussion.
the deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. If I can get through tonight without tripping over all these cords with the line. So it was in, well, next time, no, I won't.
So the deck wasn't plotted on this drawing. It was drawn in the, with the building drawing in the same file, but it wasn't uploaded on this. And I built the deck, or I built the deck, and it comes out here, and comes out about 12 feet and over, and then the stairs go out another 4 feet and down. So 12, 16 feet total it comes out off the house.
So who was this plan submitted to? This is the one that was submitted to us?
Yeah, this is the approved plan for the project itself with the septic design and the garage, house box, and everything like that.
That was stamped received? Is there a stamp on that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, this
that
is the
was
one that
referred
we've
to
been.
in the order of
Yeah,
conditions.
yeah, we've been going
one we
back to this
discussed.
one. Yeah.
That's the one with Kyle's note.
Yeah, I got my little
Not gonna do order.
scribble on there.
So the yellow is the 50?
The yellow is the 50, yes,
Okay.
and the screen is the 100. There's wetlands across the street as well.
So it was up to the 50?
Where's the plan that has it on it, the original plan? Is that went to Board of Health or somebody else?
This
It's
is
in the
what we
building
did.
department file.
Building.
Yeah, it was just in the dwelling sketch
Elevations
itself.
and everything.
Yeah,
It was-
yeah. But
After this.
it does go into the 50-foot buffer.
So what's the date difference between that drawing and the building drawing?
So this was approved before I filed the for the building permit. So I had come in with
Right.
this, and then when not thinking that the deck, I guess, had not keeping it in mind, and I filed for the building permit, and the deck was never plotted on the preliminary or approved plan. So, but it is now in place and is in the 50-foot buffer. So I guess
Okay.
that was what the discussion was for.
Yeah, and I remember discussion was, is there anything in the 50? And the answer was no, but it
Yeah.
sounds like your thought process was like house, garage, and the
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Deck was-
really the deck didn't come into mind because I was like, I've pictured deck same as like a patio, which obviously, I guess you see a lot of things like that. And
yeah.
I mean, just something that I didn't take into consideration as being, it's permeable, the stone underneath it, there's not a roof over it by any means, sorry. But, let me turn that off.
And the deck is on the second story.
Yeah,
And
so
then
it's,
there's this,
yeah,
like,
the slab was
gravel
basically at
and
ground
then
level,
there's-
and then, so there was the garage, and then the first floor's above that, so the deck was at that level. The deck's about 12 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And I put stone underneath it, so I guess one plus side is there won't be grass on it. I know grass in the 50 was something that, but.
And then it's the
There's
the
5 foot.
decking itself, is it like wood or Trex or something?
Yeah, it's Trex.
So
It's,
like the rain will fall through it?
Yes, yeah, it's
Okay.
Trex, whatever composite product.
Okay.
And there's 3/4 stone below it. There's 5 footings. There were 2 underneath the steps and 3 in a line that was basically off the projection of the back of the house itself.
So how much is in the 50? Of that?
A third of it, probably.
Okay.
So how many of those footings were in 50?
2.
2 under the stairs.
Yeah, 2 under the stairs. Actually, sorry, 3. These 2 were not. This one out here, and then the 2 under the stairs would be. So,
And it looks like there's a concrete pad under the stairs?
I haven't poured any concrete
still
in it
pouring
yet,
it?
but yeah, that was just like a 10-inch
Usually
thick
the
piece
base,
thing.
right?
Yeah, just for the bottom of the stairs. It's not it wasn't really excavated in. It's just a 4-inch thick thing to stabilize. But
So how many days difference was this file versus the building file? Like, Amy, do you consider it a
months.
simultaneous submittal?
It was,
Or-
I went back and looked at it because when I okayed the building permit, I went in and looked what was in there, and this was basically in there, so yeah, it's the same date,
Right.
so it's fine. And then when the deck came up, I went back and looked, and the deck, some of the stuff had been filed a little bit later, as you
Yeah.
build the
So
permit file at building.
there was probably
Couple
a month-
weeks, maybe?
Well, I think
From
between
the time you opened the building permit to other stuff kept getting added into it.
yeah, I would say so. I
It was
think
added after I okayed
it
the
was
permit.
like a month since I came in for the meeting for this plan, or maybe a month and a half that I actually started the building permit process. So I had gotten this I mean, not maliciously by any means, but I had gotten this approved and then designed a house box based off that and went through the house, through the deck, I guess. Figured a house needs a deck.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, what are your options for other places for the deck?
Oh, there's no other options for anywhere else for the deck. Yeah.
Why is that?
Why is there no other
Yeah,
option?
can you
for
show
place-
us why there's no other option for where to put the deck?
Well, the house is basically finished now. So the kitchen runs along here. There's a bathroom here. So this kitchen's installed. There's a sink. There would be no other spot for a deck on the house. That wouldn't be in the 50 anyways. Well, there actually would be no other location for me to build the
sides.
deck.
So the sides wouldn't, why wouldn't the sides work?
Well, I wouldn't meet the setback on the sides at all. The septic tanks are over here. There's a recharge trench over here, and I'm 18 feet from the property line on this side, required to be 15, so that would only be 2 feet. And on this side, I'm 20, but I get the septic tanks and everything like that.
Okay.
So, and
So
then the
the-
front yard is entirely septic system. Has to keep that out of the buffer.
So, I don't know, how does the commission feel about him writing up a alternatives analysis showing that there was no other alternative for the deck?
I think you have to. I mean,
Yeah, so the 50 is also a mandatory setback, and it requires a waiver, which you currently don't have.
Okay.
So you need a waiver for that. deck.
Which includes the alternatives analysis.
And that
which is
basically means,
Which
what you ju-
consists
which is what
of-
you just
which
said.
is what you just
You
talked.
can't go on that side, you can't go on that side.
Okay.
Yep.
So basically get something written up and
In-
some pictures, some drawings. I can
Right.
get the exact dimensions. The engineer's coming out to take an as-built, so next time I come in, I'll have it all plotted.
Good.
The deck and everything, so
Yep.
we'll be able to see exactly what's going on and
And then how to mediate that,
come up.
the area that's in, how you give back.
Right.
So where,
Compensate.
so to do that at the same time. So when you think of the area that has been encroached into, you now have to make some amends to bring it back into balance. So,
Okay.
and that can, we're certainly not going to tell you what to do, but
Right.
you would want to talk with your engineer to say, okay, well, you're going to be diligent to give more naturalization of the lawn. So there has to be a balance. You've taken some of the wetlands, so now you have to give back through other different plantings or something. So I think you
Okay.
can do the two simultaneously. So to do the waiver and then.
And draw just maybe a sketch on that plan showing where some blueberry bushes, stones and things should be.
Yeah, an area that's
Well,
not
so-
going to be.
Yeah,
Because I know we had
so you're
discussed that.
You're already gonna do the
Yeah,
boulders.
we already got some blueberry bushes
And
planned.
tree bushes, so you can
It's basically,
certainly-
you're going to lose probably a little bit more of the, like grass or natural.
So one benefit is there's no grass underneath here, I guess. The water still runs through it, it's stone, it's not gonna be fertilized.
Well,
I mean, I guess I did
but
take
not-
away grass area with the
Yeah, there's
deck.
not going to be any habitat that's going to live under there. There's.
Well, it would have been grass anyway, there would be no
And
habitat
then that's
there
assuming people
anyways.
don't store
Nice.
things underneath.
Right.
Well, the
Yeah.
50 is supposed
Which
to
your
be,
wife
no
said.
disturb area, not, it doesn't,
No, yeah,
whether it
we
be
already
grass
discussed
or-
that there was gonna be grass, basically, it go as it was originally. This wasn't a new lot, there was an existing house on site, and the
Right.
whole property
Right.
was grass to
Oh, but-
begin with.
Yeah, okay.
So-
We
So
and we
you
talked
could-
through it in detail to
Yeah.
keep you out of the 50, recognizing the challenges with the septic. So essentially, anytime and like for the future, like one of the other engineers basically said, think of the 50-foot buffer as a wall, because you have to, there's a lot more requirements to get a waiver, which, the alternatives analysis. And then
Mhm.
the other important piece is when you go to present, the, other features to help make up for the space that is, being occupied now by a structure, get your square footage,
Okay.
calculate your square
Yeah,
footage.
just figure
and
out what's
say,
been taken and how to put it back.
Whatever, 15 square feet, of the 50-foot, is now occupied, and so I'm gonna translate to that to, X plantings or, or whatever you end up.
Yeah, restore, if you do have lawn in the 50, restore some of that lawn to naturalized
Yeah.
area.
Corner
That would be
garden.
Yeah, corner garden.
Pick a
Yeah,
corner
with some
and
Yeah.
stuff.
That's an
do some
idea.
plantings.
Something that's
Telling
not
you
meant
what
to
to
be
do.
trafficked.
Well,
Yes.
It can be habitat.
As far as the safety point, this is gonna serve as a fire escape for the second floor.
Yeah, this is actually the only exit from that floor because it's more like a split entry almost. You go down and up, so
So that could be another safety.
that is the main
So
exit.
that could be part of your
So you
waiver.
think of your waiver, that's a third
Something
point
to
as
keep
well.
in mind.
That's a point
Okay.
So I think you've got,
We'll document it because
Okay.
it helps with
Yeah.
the waiver
So
process.
I'll basically explain all those things we just
well,
discussed.
you can't
and
use
then-
either
I
sides
can't
and
go
that you
east
needed.
because
Yeah.
I can't go west because I can't go to the front because
Okay.
here's the, the deck is occupying, 20 square feet and therefore I propose to X.
Okay. No problem.
Cool.
So I'll have that ready for
Okay.
the next meeting.
Okay.
27th?
27.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
We got a couple minutes still.
Annual report.
Annual report.
Yes, I'm preparing the annual report. I don't know if anybody wanted to take a crack at it
Thank you.
or not.
Crack at it,
I'd
meaning
be
writing
happy
it,
to
or?
help.
I've already written it up and added the, there's a couple copies here. I'm never quite sure how to use
I'd read it.
Courtesy of Jim.
Oh, thanks.
If anybody else wants a copy, I can email it to you, so.
Sure.
It looks like you took last year's and changed, updated the
Yeah, exactly.
numbers.
So if I missed anything that we did last year that you want to have put in there? And probably try to get in more pictures too, because they're all hot and heavy on getting pictures.
Okay, how about the budget? Where are we?
How about the budget? So the budget, if anybody wants to see that, I printed out one copy
That's Jim's copy.
of our piece of the budget, which goes up because of the request for the assistant, obviously. Otherwise, it goes up the increment anyway, so.
How
that's
about the water, cost of the water, is that going up? For the
I swear to God,
community gardens?
that's not in here because that's a separate account.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here's the community garden. The community garden has like $500 in it.
Oh, oh,
I
for
don't know.
water, because of water payments, or no, plot
How much
payments?
is that?
Plot payments?
Plus, yeah, so I'm not quite sure, you can take a look at it if you want, there's a couple of pieces there. I think some money got moved around and something got put in there,
Oh, really?
and I'm not gonna ask any questions.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right. Because
No, it doesn't, because it's been really tight, especially that one day when the water was running all day. But Newtown
Recharged
Hill is
into our
in,
fund.
Must
Was it
Newtown
really
Hill is in
on
kind of
there?
rough shape, and I would like to get someone in there with a rototiller and just start that one from scratch again, and, put in legumes or something if it's gonna, there's vacant, I think there's one vacant at Yap, I think, and
think
two
so.
or three or four vacant at Newtown. And that's never good, then it's just
Right.
overrun.
Becomes weeds.
Yeah, cover it.
And the rabbits are getting in there, so Rick wants to once again try to get the rabbits out of there. And the groundhogs and stuff.
One thing I noticed is that the FY19 budget, all the numbers are really, except for office supplies, all the numbers, and other supplies, numbers are higher for the actual in 18 than the 19 budget. Is that worrisome at all?
Some stuff got moved around. Mileage was always underestimated. So that one, and the postage is always a surprise at the end of the year.
So
Because
do we need
we
to
don't
up,
see
do we
it.
need to up the budget, is, I guess is what I'm
Right.
wondering.
So yeah, so some of that got moved around, and some of that also comes out of a different pile of money. Because that is money from the town budget, but there's also the budget from the fees.
But how come the budget is always static? It seems like not even inflation is added or anything.
I'm not sure what you're looking
From
at.
year to year, FY19 to FY20 is the same level?
Everybody gets level funded every year.
Yeah, because so that's why the
Why?
wages go up the 4 or 5% or whatever it is. That's automatic. So that's why that goes up. It takes a big jump because of the assistant.
But I mean,
So without
these costs here are level funded always? They don't
Pretty
go
much,
up by inflation or anything? Why?
Well, every now and then, it'll go up
It's upped?
$100, $200 or something like
So
that.
we're just chatting, that I know we need to have approval for the assistant in the 19 hours, but where would that fall in a budget line for projection? Would that be?
It is in there right now. It is assuming,
Because we're just thinking
I forget, it was-
mileage as well. So if that person's gonna help do some, if they have to go to some of the trails or something else,
That's-
more
yeah.
gas.
yeah.
So I'm just thinking, we need.
Yeah, right now, it's pretty much a placeholder, and I think the placeholder in that, it's mitigated a little bit, was, 20 hours at $20, just to put in some money.
Okay, I was just,
It
if
needs to
it's
be
feasible,
refined.
if we could put in some more gas.
Yeah.
'Cause I
Gas
think gas
mileage.
is gonna go up now.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta go
Yeah,
back.
exactly.
Yeah, but I
to-
think they actually just released the.
Yeah, it went
Yeah,
down.
it actually went down,
Yeah.
the mileage rate.
Should never be allowed to go down.
It held steady.
It went down.
It went down, like a half a cent.
It's been the same for a couple years, I think.
Yeah, it's
but
the same
yeah.
a couple years, definitely
They
went
may
down.
have done that a little too soon.
Okay, I got, move along, we'll have to come back to some of these. Win, 3 Winchester, 204-890, no, I guess we already did
Oh,
that
yeah,
one.
that was Kyle.
Informal discussion, 82 Foster Street.
Good evening.
Evening.
Ted Doucette, and I'm here for the applicant, Tim Goddard. This is Father's Place, Ron Goddard's. But let's just take a minute to celebrate and be happy about 73 Hartwell. Who was happier than me?
I don't think,
that-
I don't think, do you guys know this?
Oh, that's not getting
I
built.
think I might know. Oh, it's not?
It's not.
Well, didn't
Really?
Phil bought it, right? I
Yeah,
heard Phil bought it.
right. So he's not going to develop. I don't think. I can tell you why he's not developing it with me, probably. I don't think he'll ask me to help out, but.
Or he doesn't be a small.
When I heard he
house.
bought it, I thought that was great,
Yeah.
and we just need to have, I don't know why, we all got dragged through that for, what, a year and a half, and now he
Well,
decides to
didn't
buy
Doug
it.
Shaw buy it too first?
Yeah, he bought it first.
Yeah, I've been watching the deed to see if it shifted, it's still in Doug's name, some
I haven't
trust
been
or
paying that
something.
much. I just talked to. I just heard.
Right, I just heard it too, and then.
Heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, nothing official, but we'll see what happens, but
Yeah.
if it doesn't get built, I'm very happy. All right, so informal discussion on 82 Foster.
Whereabouts is that?
This is right across from Mill, right across the intersection with Mill.
It answers all the questions.
Right across.
We're in 2020, we're with the future now.
Where am I?
We have
Oh,
things
yeah.
on the monitor.
Oh, yeah.
What's the address again?
82
82 what?
Foster.
Sorry.
You said it's the Goddard house?
I'm not paying any attention.
Yeah, yeah, it's a white one, but you come down Mill and just
I
kind
don't
of
care what
jog
these
through
things
it.
are.
Oh, there it is. Wow, that's gonna be cool.
Oop, not do that, not that big.
Wow.
Nope, nope, nope.
No.
Back
Yeah,
in.
general idea of where in town it is.
We know where Foster Street is.
Well, Foster Street's pretty long.
That's true.
Do you actually want to see the site,
Ottawa, no.
like an aerial, or you just really
Sure,
don't care?
sure, that would be great.
They're playing, so you're just going to have to be a little patient here.
This one is.
And I gotta admit, I go back because it's the best aerial.
Oh, because
It's an old aerial.
Okay, I know where we are. It's low, right?
It's next to the Leahy property, right?
Across the street.
Ooh, wetlands right behind.
Yeah,
That's
can you
right.
zoom in, can you zoom in to show me that there's a stream back there, I think?
Yeah,
Right,
there
I don't know if it's intermittent, it was flowing pretty good when I was out there, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can see it.
Oh, here it is, right here.
Right there,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's right on that curve where the Hadaway is
So-
over on the right.
All right.
Mhm.
That's wet.
Oh,
See
yeah.
where the dark
Oh,
spot,
that
the
goes all the way
riverfront,
up.
and that floods.
What's that?
Riverfront is involved then?
No.
No?
No.
Is it intermittent?
Flood.
It's intermittent.
Oh, it's intermittent.
Flood involves.
Yeah. So that's good,
My
because
next
that's a good
purchase will
place
be a
to...
laser pointer.
Yeah, no, that's a good place to start, actually, because you can see the stream is, the stream's right in here. And the wetlands flagged were just off the lawn, no surprise, right? So the the wetlands come back here and then go into this area right here. So you'll see on my plan, the 50s in here and the
Yep.
hundreds, the 50s in here and the hundreds up here. I'm sorry, so it probably comes way up here and then down around the wetland.
That's handy.
You can see that on this plan view. I just printed out one of these so we can pass around the corner. So here's Foster Street. Here's the wetland in the back. So the stream is back here. That wasn't flagged 'cause it's so far out, but the wetland does creep up into here. So here's the start of the line. It comes along here.
Is there floodplain in there?
I didn't have a flood
It's not gonna show up
plan.
on
No,
the
it's
plan.
greater than 500 foot. That's what I have according to the mapping. So let me just pass that down here. So I said, here's Foster Street. He has two driveways on the property, and then here's the wetland flagging here, and then 50 and 100. And so I'm looking at two options on this. Option one, alternate one, you can share there.
Yep.
So the opaque is wetland?
Now you know where we are on this. So this is the Mass GIS
That's alt
wetland.
one.
Grain of salt.
Right.
That's what? Green.
Take it with a grain of salt. The Mass DEP GIS wetland line is.
Oh, yeah, wetland, okay, yeah. So this is alternative one, which I looked at, which is about as far away from the wetland as we can get. It's still within the buffer zone. But the problem with this is it's gonna require a pump. And pump costs owners between $5,000 and $7,500.
A pump?
Oh, I'm sorry, so in order to get it, the sewage up to this elevation, that's come out, go to pump
Sewage lift
chamber,
pump.
and then goes up, I'm sorry.
So, sorry, can we back up one
Sure
second?
thing.
Is this are we changing construction? Is this just a septic repair?
Yes, septic repair. It's a
Just-
5-bedroom, but it's a repair, yeah.
Is it gonna stay a 5-bedroom?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, there's no increase in flow,
okay.
yeah, so it's repair,
Not in failure, though.
yes.
It is in failure.
It was inspected and, yeah, deemed to be.
Failed.
Yeah, nothing coming out of the ground yet.
Right, okay.
But, I could always say yet.
This is just a pond.
Correct. No, not the pond. No, it's across from Leahy's and down. So if you're coming out of Leahy's driveway, you go left, and it's on the right.
This is what, Mill Road,
See
right?
Mill
Yeah,
Road
it's
is?
right at the
That's
intersection.
Mill Road right there. So if you come out Mill,
Right here.
come out, and then Charlotte's house is down on the left. Mr. Russell's.
Can we get Google Maps
she's across from
from
the
Jim's
pond.
house to his?
Pond. That's why I thought it was in a, it does flood, but I'm surprised it doesn't.
Used to be a pond, it's Tenny's Corner.
It's
Yeah.
kind of a pond, it's
Oh, it's definitely
filled in a
swamp.
lot.
It's
Yeah.
full right now.
I wouldn't want to walk through
Drive by it
it.
every
but-
day. It's,
Yeah. That's all I think it is.
Oh, that area there behind-
Bigger footprint than what's
Right at the
shown.
6A.
there.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
there you go,
usually
yeah,
does.
that's-
Yeah.
that's almost always full.
Yeah.
So did someone delineate, or are you basing this off of the mapping?
No, it's delineated, yeah. Yeah. That's what people always say, oh, it's not, the mapping doesn't show it. I'm like, yeah, well, we
Yeah, the
can't,
mapping never
we
shows
can't,
it.
we can't
That's it
we
bad.
can't base it on that. If we could base it on that, my life would be easier, but no, it's all.
No,
it's all-
because you
yeah.
get into
It'd be-
construction
yeah,
and
yeah.
you'd be dewatering.
But I always do on the ground when I think it's gonna be a problem. So is Leah Basbane, she does most of my delineation in this area.
Okay.
So it was one of the easier ones.
Okay.
She didn't
So-
text me cursing.
Vegetation in the rear of the house? What's there now?
So it's all mowed lawn where you can see the green there. It looks like that rectangle there is
All the way
a
down here.
garden. There's a little bit of a fence around that. It
Yes.
doesn't look like it's, yeah, it doesn't look like that's been used as a garden, but that has been.
How many acres is this
So
thing?
it's 1.25.
So we going, you saw it somewhere?
So it's for sale, so I was checking it out.
Okay.
I live across the street, so.
Oh.
Oh, well.
Compare yards.
He's going to the open house.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the existing system now has the tank right behind the house, and then it runs down right about where the blue indicator is there. That's about where the system is now. And it runs out into the field. So
Was there a replacement area that was designated when that one was put in, or?
Doesn't look like it. I mean, this was dated
How old is the system?
Gotta be
67, 1967.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Had a good run.
Yeah. So I laid out alternate one, which is what I was hoping to do, but again, it's going to be a pump, and like I said, it's another $5,000 to $7,500 for the homeowner. And on both of these designs, I'm proposing to use Presby system mainly because it works with a slope better. It helps reduce the height of the mound and helps reduce the breakout, helps reduce the fill. So also, as claimed by David Presby and supposedly affirmed by DEP, it does provide an additional level of protection, which allows you to get closer to groundwater, reducing the mound. So that's what I'm proposing. That's one alternative there. The other alternative is moving it down closer to the 50-foot buffer zone, thereby eliminating the need for a pump and a pump chamber. As you can see, the fill does go out into the 50-foot, over 50-foot, and I believe we can keep the system out of the 50-foot. And this is shown, this here full property plan is shown with the alternate 2. So, reducing the need for pump, providing the same environmental protection, same system, just no pump.
Where would the pump be?
The pump chamber would have to be somewhere below the system, so let's see, so the existing tank is in this area at the bottom of those steps there.
That's what I was
Okay.
wondering.
And then it runs down this way and discharges out into here. So right now I'd keep the tank here. I probably have to put a pump chamber down in this area so that I could actually get back up to it.
Okay.
So this is showing only fill for the septic system, but there would be additional fill, to keep the pump covered.
So the pump would be outside of the 50 as well?
Oh, yeah. The pump's out, so the pump's a 1,000-gallon pump chamber with a little 3.3 horsepower pump inside of it, and it pumps it up to the system.
You said, Ted, could you do the breakdown on this?
Let's
For
do
the
the-
existing, you said it was the bottom of the stairs, the existing?
Yeah, so the tank's right about here,
Okay.
and then it runs down, it runs down somewhere like this, and then out into here.
That's the,
Existing system.
Distribution box?
Oh, if it has one, yeah, I mean, it would have
so
one.
what does this discharge
that-
mean then? Are you just like, in general, there's a flow down there, or is that a D-box?
There's a, so D-box here,
Okay.
and then there's trenches, 50-foot trenches,
Oh, got it, okay. Okay.
which usually is abandoned in place, and that's what we would
Right,
plan
that's
on
where you
doing
just
now.
leave it there.
Yeah, just leave it.
Well, I mean, I would say, obviously, I would prefer being out of the 50, I think.
Well, no, he's talking about the existing, the
Well,
old,
no, the
the
new-
old one too.
Well, the new one, he said they would have to put a pump here and pump it up to there to keep this out of the 50.
Oh, right, okay.
And so that's the option that I would,
To keep the fill out of the 50? Because that's all I'm
Fill.
proposing is the fill out of the 50.
yeah, keep the fill out of 50.
So, I understand 50's a line on the plan, but something that I need to know, and I would like to know, and I need to be able to tell my client why you're crying. What's the additional environmental benefit to keeping that fill out of the 50-foot buffer zone when it's already a disturbed lawn and it's going to go back to being a disturbed lawn?
Well, because our regs say that it's a no disturb area.
So should he not be mowing his lawn?
Well, the regs say, I thought the regs said no new construction in there. I thought it was no new buildings.
No disturb.
It's phrased as a no disturbance area, so that could include anything.
Well, and I think replacing, if you're replacing the existing system and it was in the same location, that's a one-to-one, kind of easier to justify within our regs. But can we go back to these trenches? And they're
The old ones.
in the wetland, technically? Are the trenches technically in the wetland? And I'm wondering if those need to be pulled out.
Well, and I think that wetlands has changed a lot too. There's a lot more road drainage. and Jim would know this better, but I think that area is wetter than what it used to be.
Oh,
When you
okay.
look at over time.
And it will.
I
Yeah,
think
it's got to
it
have backed
gets a
up.
lot more, there's a lot more development there, there's a lot more road, there's just
Oh, yeah.
a lot more water.
Right.
So I don't know that system, to your question,
Yeah.
obviously it was a good system, it lasted,
Yeah.
a very long time, but I
Right.
think that the soils are definitely changing over there. It's wet.
Sure. But what's the risk of leaving it there, in your opinion?
As far as leaving it in after we build a new system?
Yeah.
Oh, none. No, abandoned in place is what I typically do.
Right.
I just
Fill it
want,
with concrete abandoned in place?
no, just abandon, leave it.
Just
That's-
cut the
Yeah,
pipe
historically, they've all
and
been
then
Yeah.
left.
leave the,
Yeah.
what material is it?
I mean, it's gonna be stone and pipe, so you got how many lines they have there? Looks like a half dozen pipes, and there's probably going to be, it's not even PVC, it's gonna be either Orangeburg, if you,
Okay.
do you know what that is?
Further away from the wetland would be.
So Orangeburg is
Yeah.
basically a cardboard tube dipped in tar.
The old leach.
And that's what they use, or it could be clay tile, which
Yeah,
are about
that's
3
what I
foot
was thinking, is the
sections.
clay tile.
I don't think he's planning to.
No,
Whatever.
that's what they're
It
talking
seems
about,
like if
leaving
there's a
it in place
material
where
that
people
shouldn't be degrading into the
Yeah, I
wetland.
wouldn't think it would damage the wetland, just leave it
And then,
there.
but
If it hasn't,
that could be,
by now,
you
it isn't
know,
going
I
to.
could see
Right,
that as
right.
being, a give and take
Yeah.
for putting your system, like, where, I'm not a fan of forcing homeowners to do any more than they, in this
Yeah.
type of situation. I, very much, I think it's important to work with homeowners and not be overly onerous.
Yeah.
But if that material is going to, continue to just leach,
Yeah.
contamination.
It's something you definitely discuss. I mean, it's, whether it's, I mean, I'm here for one main reason right now, so if we want to we can keep that in our mind.
Sure.
But I think, if you want to pull out just the pipes, if you want to pull out the whole system, and you can tell us, what benefit that is, make it easier to swallow for the homeowner, it'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I
if
think
somebody's
that
gonna-
this is a unique site that I think that if we went to go look at it, and to really look at this fill area between option 1 and 2,
There you go. Here's some photos.
I think to look at that, because now we're really at a wet time right now.
Right.
So those are photos, obviously, when we're doing our soil evaluation, and I just tried to sketch in a rough idea where where alt 1 and alt 2 would
So
be.
it's gently sloping.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
really gently sloping.
So that's,
They're gonna
you got that
trees
picture
that have to be
there.
taken
Oh, these
down.
are one
Oh, yeah,
foot.
definitely, yeah. So these,
Yeah, the ones on the left, definitely.
those,
There are more
what are they,
trees
three
out.
those some maples there, right? Here, those will need to be come down.
Well, those will have to come.
That's
down.
for alternative 1, and for
Yeah,
alternative 2.
Yeah, probably
That's
for
a
alternative 2, yeah.
Well, the root,
No, it doesn't.
I would
So-
think the roots are gonna
They
be
have to come.
impacted anyway, so.
So here's another different
Well, they're under for the
angle.
septic systems, you don't take them there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So those are trees in the lawn?
But I
They're,
Edge of the tree line, they're in the tree line,
Okay.
yeah.
put it in paper for.
Looks like it's got a bunch of brush starting to grow on one edge of it here.
A bunch of what we're starting to grow?
Brush.
Oh, yeah, it is, gotta be what is it, my best friend there, what's that?
Multiflora
Triflora,
rose.
multiflora rose, yeah.
Yeah, it looks sharp.
And then the other one is that vine that just,
Okay.
Bittersweet.
because it grabs your feet as you're walking, doesn't it? Yeah. So I understand there's the line, the 50-foot no disturb,
Also, we do prefer, the system would be outside of the 50, the system
Yes.
itself
yes.
would be outside of 50 in either case, but definitely the further away a system is from the wetland, the better. That's
Yes,
why I would,
but the difference between 50 and 85 feet, there has got to be negligible environmental benefit that can be justified by spending $5,000 to $7,500.
Do you
In my
understand the
opinion,
intent, though?
what's that?
Do you understand the intent of the 50-foot, the Wetlands Protection Act? So
Well, there is no 50-foot in the Wetlands Protection Act.
everyone who's coming
Yeah,
in
it's
here,
100.
Right.
everybody wants to
Yeah, on our roads,
encroach a little bit more and encroach a little bit more. That's kind of the intent.
Well,
Is that
the
we're trying to
intent
have
is to
clean water quality or have some sort of regulation over the water quality.
All right, so if you can tell me.
And we're trying to protect
how-
the water quality because
Yes,
this is
the
a
nitrogen.
saturated area. And I think, every case is unique. Where it is gently sloping, there is a lot of water in that area. And I think what the commission is kind of offering to you is that let them come out and look at that and keep the ball rolling to kind of look and see which alternative would be best.
So yes, I understand keeping the water clean, but if you can tell me how much dirtier the water is going to be by alternative 2 and alternative 1.
Well, it
And I
has,
understand the 50-foot, I don't know if you were here for the last project where we went back and forth on the 50-foot. If you have a 30-acre site, if you've got the point, and you want to keep everyone 50 feet away, that's new construction. That's something they can plan on, they have existing conditions that they can work with. They have a blank palette when they built that thing, so it's easy to stay 50 feet. Plus, it's a huge site. When you're looking at an existing site that would probably not be built today because of the wetland, and you have a homeowner who has that property there and he's been living there, and then you have that 50-foot encroaching on what he can use for a septic system after the fact.
It's tough.
I
It
mean,
is.
5 years ago, we could have done this, right where it is. We could have put it, right, we could have taken that big tree down, put it right
Here's a
there.
holistic perspective
Yeah.
for you. So 4 of the 5 lakes in Littleton are considered impaired waterways under the 303D section of the Clean Water
Yeah.
Act, and so you can look that
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
The reason they're impaired is because development has encroached so much on our wetlands, our streams, our vernal pools, our lakes, that it's holistically impacting our water quality. And so, we didn't know this 50 years
Yeah.
ago.
Right.
Nobody has
Right.
the intent. Everybody wants clean water.
Yeah.
George Sanders just put out he's great at talking about liking clean water. And I don't, and I think people, work in good faith to have clean water, but, the regulations are as they are because there's a balance. And, we need to look at the future of our water
Yeah.
quality because we're having more and more and more development.
Yeah.
And we need to pull back where we can. And so in cases where there's something existing, we absolutely have the conversation about, hey, can I put a corner of grading?
Yeah.
It's part of the conversation. And
Yeah.
it may be something we agree to depending on, some of the other factors at the site
Yeah.
or what we look at the site. But in general, we have encroached so much on our water supply that we have 4 out of 5 lakes in our town are impaired.
And I appreciate that. I know, I like the lakes, I like clean water, I'm not against it. I grew up in Fitchburg, I understand, the different, I saw
Yeah,
the
the
results of the
industry.
Clean
Yeah.
Water Act, right? Came out in
Yeah.
'72. So we see no more, 20 years later, the rivers are clean, they're not brown anymore. I get that.
Setting fire.
What's that? I
The
think,
Cuyahoga River's not setting fire to it.
yeah, I get that, but I also get that, in my opinion, engineering-wise, water quality-wise, water treatment-wise, existing what we have now to now,
Sure.
that the additional $5,000 does not, and the system out there, or the system being moved back, to me, does not create a situation that will have any measurable effect on the water quality.
well,
in my
unfortunately, we
opinion.
can't.
So that's where I'm at. The $5,000 does not justify the additional treatment that you're going to get.
Well, unfortunately, we can't think about that cost necessarily. That's not our job. Our job is to say, you've presented 2 alternatives to us, and the alternative we would prefer is the one where the wetland has 30 more feet
Yeah.
for that nitrogen to be used up by
Assuming he's already.
living bacteria, whatever, that will use it up before it gets to the wetland. Because nitrogen is one of the,
Oh, yeah.
as you know, nutrients, one of the toughest things to get rid of.
Right. But what
So-
what gets rid of
I guess a
nitrogen?
question on-
The soil or the plants? So you have that 30 feet of water, all it's going through is soil. It's not getting treated there. It gets treated at the plants.
Well, there's a lot of aerobic activity beneath the ground that happens.
Question
Yes.
on 1 versus 2, 1 seems to be at a slightly different angle. Is there a way to rotate your second alternative that would possibly reduce some of this fill in the 50? So to,
Possibly. This is a conceptual to show that there will be an
Okay.
impact. This was drawn, on vacation without a mouse. I'm trying to get it in there. I'm trying to use
Okay.
a little keypad, get it into you guys.
because
So
I think
yeah.
that's encouraging to hear, because that would be better.
I'm not making a promise. I'm
No,
just saying,
Not
I
asking
want
for
you
a
to.
promise, I'm asking for an
I want
option.
you to know that if I design that way and you say now that it looks like you might approve it, then there's going to be fill within the 50 foot. That's what I want to show in this picture. And that the system will be outside of 50 feet. So,
So it sounds like you need to go back to the drawing board and be a little more serious about it.
right, but I don't want to go through two whole designs, because if I have my alternative, I'm coming in with this one that shows no pump. And then if you come back and say, if I'm not unless you're telling me now that it's off the table, absolutely. That's what I'm here for,
Well,
is to tell two as a possibility.
So this is a discussion, and I think you've been
Yeah.
able to hear, the commissioners, I think, have been pretty astute with them telling you what their feelings are. So to kind of listen to what you've heard tonight, I think you can rest assured that I probably wouldn't put too much in that for Phil. So,
Under option 2, like Sarah was saying though, would there be any possibility of moving that up a little bit, or
yes,
is
that's
it?
what he just said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not a final design.
Yeah.
Pivot.
So,
I mean, that would be ideal, but
I don't think I can move it up enough that will eliminate a pump and fill it in the
this is
50.
just a discussion, we're gonna keep
I
going.
mean, I could put a wall in too and keep it outside the 50, but that's not worthwhile. Now you're talking another 5,000, so,
Might as well put a pump.
Yeah, but you haven't got a maintenance problem with a pump.
Maintenance, right, exactly.
yeah.
If I had the choice of putting a wall in or a pump that could break after 2 years or require constant maintenance.
Go with the wall.
And could you maybe also steepen up your slopes a little bit?
Not according to Title 5, you can't.
No, oh,
Alrighty.
All right, well, thanks for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Had a pump in our system ever since I've been here.
Ours lasted like 14 years before the pump went.
Yeah, thanks.
Pretty
Wanna
simple.
take-
Instead of hope you're not the one.
What?
Wanna go for a walk? You want to take it out there for a walk?
Yeah. I was there for that.
Oh, thank
Go,
you.
are we gonna go see it then, or is that next?
Wait till we have a file.
First,
Okay.
yeah.
RDA or NY?
Are you in the 50 or not?
Yeah.
Right, that's another thing.
you can always
That's
consider a
essentially-
waiver request though if you were to look into the 50-foot
yeah.
potentially. I mean,
Well, it sounds like it's a no-go. If I have an alternative, a
Exactly.
waiver or
I
not,
don't
it's a
think the
no-go.
waivers would be
You
the
don't
way
think
to
so?
go.
That's what I'm hearing.
It's always kind of an alternative.
If I have an alternative.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Good thing it is.
Well, and that was sheer coincidence. I was typing this up when he called. Oh, Ted, come back.
This is gonna be great.
Okay, we gotta go back to the, some of the no, we should go back to the minutes. You got anything on that, Anna?
Oh, under here. Not much, but just a couple things.
Anybody else while Anna's browsing?
No.
Anybody have any?
Oh, I was wondering,
They're out, the T's out.
Great.
the structure of these is, when you have those little greater than signs, that are, is that something inserted that is out of order? Is that why it's that?
Is that usually?
Because it
Oh,
has
yes.
several things.
Why, because if I didn't do something, people might think it's part of the public meeting discussion above it.
Oh, it's administrative discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all administrative stuff.
Okay, there was just one thing that really needs discussion that, well, but very slight, and just some just beginnings of words missing that I just assumed what they were. But in the continued public hearing notice of intent, 12 Mary Shepherd, second to last sentence, it says Philip Goddard went over the proposed restoration efforts and what in general kind of permitting, if required, for work in a buffer zone or riverfront area. I thought it would make more sense if it says, in general, what kind of permitting would be required.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the Crestview, there was, Using stones from impacted tone walls, so I changed to stone. Okay, that's little. Oh. Okay, so I guess you have a missing person in
Well,
the,
yeah, I can fill that out.
a member of the public, I guess? who-
Yeah.
Is there any way to figure that out?
Was the next
Yeah,
one for-
yeah.
Okay.
Because they didn't sign in, so I know who it was. I just need to go back onto this map and
Okay.
track her down.
All right. That was for Crestview. And also for that paragraph, this is the second to last thing. The last sentence says, and the commission replied that it is not determined until the hearing is open whether to ask the applicant to continue to provide more info or close the hearing. Does that make sense? I didn't think.
She wanted to know if you all can make that decision when there wasn't an open hearing going on.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So, and the commission replied that it is not determined until the hearing is closed then? Or?
No, she didn't want to, for example, show up tonight if it was being heard and find out that in the interim, outside of a public hearing, it was decided that it was going to be closed.
That'd be illegal.
Like, she didn't understand.
Yes, she
doesn't
doesn't
understand
Oh,
open
oh,
meeting.
It was a process.
Yeah, she didn't understand open meeting.
That
She
if things
also
might
asked
happen outside nothing's going to happen outside of a meeting.
if we could vote, or if we could vote at any meeting, and we're like, yeah, if it's on the agenda.
Oh, that was
Oh.
Mrs. Farrell.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
And then the curly
She got,
haired,
yeah, this is Farrell, yep.
the dark curly haired lady who's Jenny Boyer, rather.
Yep.
But the hearing is already opened. So wouldn't you say? in the-
She was worried that she would show up one week and it would have been decided by the commission outside of a hearing that you weren't going to ask for any more information and you're going to vote.
But she also didn't understand that we were allowing the engineer to keep coming up with an idea how to do something. We had to keep allowing
Right.
him as long as he wanted to spend his money.
Mm,
And I don't think she understood that.
Right.
Her point mostly being that she wants to be sure that if she wants to get her own third-party review, she will have a chance to do that.
okay.
And I had told her way long ago, I said, you might just want to wait a little bit and see where things, because you haven't discussed whether or not to do a third-party review. And we shouldn't go down this path
Right.
too far.
But the basis of it was not a good
process.
understanding of
Yeah.
the process or open meetings.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
So you got nothing else?
And then the other thing is that, the continued public hearing notice of intent 225 Taylor Street, third sentence, it says, would want to condition the determination of the estimated seasonal high groundwater for subsurface recharge system 2. Is that 2 a type of system?
It's number 2.
It's number 2.
They have system number 1, they have system number 2.
Oh,
It was that. It's
That's-
how they identified the system.
on the plan?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, sorry. Because I know that after that, you've numbered the things the 9 items and things, so I wasn't sure if that 2 was misplaced or something. Okay, that's it.
Anybody else? If not, may I have a motion to accept the minutes?
A motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Editorial things.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I guess we still got a little more time. Community Compact Best Practice Grant?
Okay, well, this has been, since I haven't seen you guys in a month, and I had like nothing to do. I get to do all this fun stuff, and now it's over. And nothing personal, but now I got to get to work. So there's a few potential grants and/or projects floating around out there, and one is this Community Compact Best Practices Grant, which is from the Executive Office in Energy and Environmental Affairs, whatever they call themselves now. And it's really wide-ranging. It can be anything, from education best practices to financial best practices. And it's basically a compact between the town and the state that the town will do these best practices. So the Board of Selectmen is basically asking, does anybody want to go after this? The Board of Selectmen will decide who can and can't go after it, basically. And I was initially thinking, one is that it could be a good opportunity to go for the mowing and meadows, but that's kind of under control. But the other one that I came up with was, I would like to ultimately get the planning board or site plan review to require or at least encourage using native plants. And this came, especially the last time I was out at Durkee and I realized they were planting ginkgo trees. I was like, that's it! Doing something about this. The planning board, I talked to Marn, and they're not wild about the idea, and it's kind of a mess. So as a baby step, I was thinking that attacking this through shade trees, street trees, the cemetery, any planting that the town does. And I know that a couple towns, I know Southborough has like a town Southborough street tree guidelines, and it lists, it goes through landscapey type stuff like how you plant a tree and decide, as well as specific recommended species. Steve Whitten from Highway handed this over, which is, have you seen that? Yeah, well, yeah, so done. And Eversource has something they call 30 under 30.
Rick Harper did this. This is new. Yeah.
So I just briefly talked to VHB, who did the work for Southborough, and they said, $6,500, give or take, something in there, to come up with basically an outline of trees that are recommended. It's not entirely native. If there's some elm cultivars, because if the elms are just you can't replant those anyway. Right. But it strengthens using the native plants.
How about planting under wires? Because I noticed, and I think this was a state issue too.
Yeah.
That I know Goldsmith Street, when they put that in, they planted right under the wires, and now they have to cut the trees all weird again. And they said, oh, we had to do that. We knew it was bad, but we had to do that because the state
And that's the kind of thing that
required
would be in here.
Okay.
And Eversource apparently has something that they called 30 under 30. It's 30 trees under 30 feet tall. So they have guidelines for that I think they did mostly for Western Mass.
But I mean, would they consider planting other things than trees underneath wires? Like, what about some shrubbery? Some
And also
bushes.
shrubs like
Habitat.
shad bush that even if you have to cut it back to the ground, it's just going to come right back.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas if you plant an oak tree and you cut it back, it's not
So
going to
this,
sprout.
so what you're basically asking is to see whether you want to pursue a grant. Is
Yes.
that what you're saying?
Yeah. And then I'm not sure how big the grant is, and I was trying to think of some big overarching statement saying that, Littleton supports resiliency or biodiversity or, something big, and like our first step is something like this. And if you can find someone cheap enough, it might even be able to do another step, which is something to do with invasive species, either getting a consultant in here to help with the mapping or strategizing or something, rather than trying to have Rick Finley do it all by himself. Get a format, a framework in there that he can work from. Unless you have any other great ideas.
I would think that, I'm pretty sure there's grants out there for control of the invasive species stuff, and whether that would dovetail between the two of them, if you had some sort of a mapping of where the stuff is, as to where you could go for the grant to do have somebody come in
Right,
and do
exactly.
this grant.
So this particular one would be coming up with the mapping of the BMP, what you're going to do. The actual physical control of it would be either volunteers or a separate grant or something along those lines. But at least you'd have a framework and you'd have an idea.
How about if we specified like the conservation lands? We got quite a bit of land, and I'm sure there's stuff might be wise to.
Yeah, there's no
Focus
question
on
about
those.
it. I actually even had time to sit down and read the master plan. It's like, oh my God, if we did everything in the master plan, I'd need at least 2 more staff. Because they're talking about, management plans, all the things that we should do, management plans for each of the conservation areas, the trails, it's everything that I want to do. But this seemed like a little
Yeah, I like that.
chewable.
Trees.
With respect to all the development that's going on. it could
And I'm
have a
assuming you
pretty
could get,
immediate
the open
impact.
space committee would be like, yay,
I mean, would it
shade
be
tree,
possible,
cemetery, highway, everyone's kind of like sustainability committee maybe.
I mean,
would it be possible to blend one of those goals with the invasive idea, like management plan for invasives, for each of our conservation
Yeah,
areas?
which is why I wanted to, make the proposal to Board of Selectmen, I want to get like a big highfalutin stretch goal up here, and like, this is a first step, get the town planting the right things, and/or managing their invasive
what comes
species.
to my mind right now is Durkee's, where they supposed to have all that open space, but if somebody doesn't do something about it, it's gonna get grown. So there should be some sort of a management with some of the town property. You got over here, across the street.
The Morgan property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
before
there-
it gets
and-
bad. Yeah.
Oh my God, the master plan called for education for people, like, well, okay, that's a great idea.
I'm kind of in favor of you doing the baby steps, and maybe do you need a motion from us to pursue this?
No, I was just kind of letting you know, and I'm hoping to wrangle Matt in on this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great ideas.
Yeah, they are. And especially with respect to invasives, and particularly bittersweet. It starts taking down the tree canopy, and you're done.
Yeah,
You're starting over.
and there's stuff shown up in town, like the black swallowwort, which has been shown up for a while, but, there's,
That stuff's awful. And knotweed, of course.
Do we have mile a minute yet?
Okay.
Here and there.
right next door, is it,
It's at Bonsai. Well, yeah, I can't really.
Oh, no.
It's in town in certain areas. It's in Westford in 3 different sites now.
Really?
So
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay. The pollinators and native plant management plan, is this all gonna be kind together?
that was another one I was thinking of trying to get money for it. It wasn't really a grant, but it was expensive. It was fantastic product you're getting, and I think I might be able to get it for free from somebody else. Lincoln's doing it. So I talked to their consultant. I said, well, we're not Lincoln. But I talked to them at Lincoln who's running it, and she said that it'll probably be open to the public, the information.
Cool.
So
Oh,
wait and see on that one.
okay.
Mass Trail Grant?
Ann Grace is potentially chasing a grant for the trail from Goldsmith up to Great Road along Cooper and through Steve Marsh's property. It's the grant application is due really soon, so I'm not sure she's going to make it. And for me, the biggest question besides easements and all that stuff is they're talking about stone dust, and I'm like, I'm not a fan of stone dust.
TSS.
Yeah. So, and of course, it also means putting a bridge in where
Right.
Steve Marsh just
Crossing.
pulled out the culverts, which is fine. You get a span in there, it's probably fine. It was good to get the culverts out of there, but
Well, actually, that's where you maybe do the same thing they did doing over to Cloverdale.
yeah, exactly. So,
Oh, wait. Oh.
I told him I'll help him with the grant. I'm not managing any of this. It's really got nothing to do with us.
Okay.
Sorry, I kind of missed that. The master, were you talking about Goldsmith, the bike trail that they were planning?
Yes.
Off of Oak Street, or Oak Road, Oak Street?
Well,
The end
it's-
of it is-
They were looking at going through Steve Marsh's, right next to the horse farm.
Oh, okay,
And
that's a
Wellington
different
Circle
location.
or on the rail farm, whatever it's called.
Oh,
Across the dirt road that goes into Cooper.
oh.
And Cooper's already, they're both, Cooper's agreeable, Steve Marsh is agreeable. I mean, we don't actually have the easements yet, I don't think, but,
Oh,
that piece of it could happen,
huh,
but,
okay. But that's a walking or biking? 'Cause I-
Yeah.
Okay. Both.
Whenever you can get back there.
Off-road biking.
Off-road biking, okay.
if they want to make it accessible and strollers and bikes, stone dust is bad enough without, I don't know how long that stretch is, but that's a lot of stone dust.
Yeah.
Okay. MACC Annual Conference?
If anybody's interested. Do you guys get the emails from MACC? Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so you probably have seen the February 29th. Anything good going on there at the conference? Have you looked at it all?
Yeah, and they've got some stuff on climate change and climate resiliency.
All right, there you go. Yeah, I haven't looked at the actual listing yet.
I saw some modules I hadn't seen before. They were really good.
Yeah.
Wait, you said it was weekday, is that what you said?
No, it's Saturday.
Oh.
Leap year day, February 29th.
Leap year day, okay, got it.
CPC membership?
And there's another grant that apparently you have to wait 2 years on for the library, for that pollinator native plant demonstration thing I went over there. But they won't issue the grant until the library's built. Come on.
Okay.
Seen it before.
The old.
And you got other dates, administrative action. I have picked up a map, it's like a regular road map, that some of the businesses that put together in the town of Littleton that you could have in your car. So I don't know where I picked it up, got it, but there is a map out there that shows all the town roads and stuff, so just information.
Thanks.
I don't know which business is handing it out, maybe real estate or what,
Yeah.
but it is a bunch of businesses sponsored it. Okay, now we need to go to the 8:45 continued discussion, potential wetland violation, 5 Scott Road. Hope you got some answers.
Don't we already know it's a violation? Are we calling it potential because it's not under enforcement?
There's not enforcement. Yeah, I just never changed the title.
I got the smaller versions here, but I got some large ones if you guys want to put it in through the large ones too.
Is it getting old already?
No, not at all. I just.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got one for everybody.
Including Matt?
It's not going to go away, so you can just.
Thanks. So,
Unless I went to SGIS.
I didn't know that was one lot, continuous lot.
Again, I've got larger plans if anybody wants to unroll those, but I've got this here.
Oh, what did the queen say?
Let me go back.
Oh, that's all of
Yeah,
it.
this is going to be useless.
Sometimes it takes a while.
Is the TV new? I don't remember the TV.
We just
No,
never used
it's
it.
new.
But 2020, so we're gonna start using it.
Maybe.
It's a great idea.
Matt's gonna be driving it.
So essentially what you have
Oh, well,
is,
wow,
the
way
plan
out
in
there.
front of you has essentially 2 panels side by side. One is the pre-existing conditions. You guys had indicated you wanted the pre-development topography on the plan. And when we started marking up the plan as to where the fill material that we looked at on site had to come out, it would have been too confusing, would have been too hatch marked up. So figured the side-by-side approach is better. Essentially, after our last site inspection, I went out with a spade, and essentially a short shovel, because I figured it was a better tool to assess how much fill was out there. So essentially what I found was that it ranged to about 1.5 foot in different areas. So originally I had 12 with the auger, but the spade, I determined it was more like 18 inches in most spots.
I'm sorry, could you clarify? Okay, pre-existing conditions.
Yes, and where the hatch mark is on the panel on the right is the area of fill that is going to need to be mitigated based on the site inspection that we had and the evaluation I had done on site after. So essentially what we calculated out was about 4,353 square feet of restoration area once you add in the peninsula area. And you blend it in with the other area I had previously delineated.
So you said square feet,
Square feet, yes. On,
almost 5,000.
yeah, almost. I also handed out a page, which is a typical New England wetland seed mix. New England Wetland Plants puts this out. This is a really good mix. I've used this in many restoration/replication areas. In this area, actually, I think it would do pretty hardy and pretty fast. The material grows well. New England Wetland Plants, I mean, you guys have worked with them before. They give you some really high-quality material. So essentially, this fill would be brought back to pre-existing elevation. The area would be raked over. It would be seeded with the wetland mix and monitored. So a notice of intent that would be filed would have the complete monitoring schedule on it for you guys. If you feel it's satisfactory and you want to go with the monitoring schedule, fine. The usual monitoring schedule that I do is once this is planted, I usually do like weekly reports for the first couple of months just to let you guys know how it's, holding up, making sure there was no erosion events. Nothing happened, like, birds came out and tried to eat all the seeds. After that, once it starts growing in, I usually go to monthly reports for the first year and then quarterly reports for the second year, unless you guys want the frequency increased or I see that it's not taking for some reason. For some reason, any planting has to be redone. Of course, I would notify you guys in the weekly or monthly reports, depending on the timetable.
How much above, once you take all that fill out, are you gonna be on the lake level?
It won't be on the lake level. The lake level is actually, from the looks of the topo that we have, is actually about 1.5 feet lower than what the ground level was. The question is, it's hard for me to determine based on what I see on site whether or not there were trees at you've got the gravel path landing here and down the bottom of the retaining walls, whether or not there was any trees that were removed in this area. The aerial photos are pretty inconclusive. I can add a couple of trees into the mix if you want, but what I saw in the aerial photos comparatively looked like it was always type of an open marsh type of deal, which is, essentially what I'm proposing to replant here. The last time I used this particular wetland mix, I used it on a wetland replication crossing in Holden, and it worked really, really well. So.
And I think also, when we were out on site, if you take, it looks like, 1.5 feet elevation off the peninsula, it will become, wetland again versus.
It was getting wetland plants growing through the mix, so there's no reason why once you scrape it down, it's going to not grow. It should take areas pretty hardy. And I like using this mix because it's less likely to grow cattails.
In a perfect world, what would be the ETA for this?
Dad wants to come in.
Like in terms of,
We need an NOI first.
Well, I'm
Right.
gonna file an NOI for public hearing, do the abutter notification, go through the process. Once you guys issue an order of conditions, you'd have to start on this right away.
Would have to be this spring, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
But
Get started after.
you have anything to control phragmites? I mean, that seems to be all over town.
That's really difficult. I mean, in
No,
a site
but I
like
mean,
this
that-
especially, I
I'm in
mean,
there.
it would have to be hand controlled, just like he's gonna have to hand control some of that loose strife. Because I saw the loose strife starting to rear its ugly head in that section, and I believe when we had gone out there, you had noticed
there's
the loose
a-
strife, and
yeah.
it's like really starting to bug me that it's actually starting to make a little bit of a comeback.
So I think the next step then, so this is helpful to see the before and after. The site visit was helpful, and so when can you get an NOI in?
I've got one drafted, I'm just waiting for my client to return from Arizona, which he's supposed to do this weekend,
Okay.
unless, of course, we have a snowstorm.
We are
and
supposed to
it'll
have
be
a
Monday.
snowstorm.
Yep, that's what I'm
Okay.
hearing.
So
Snow,
likely
ice, and
not
sleet.
for our next meeting, but perhaps for early.
well, he's already got it.
That's true, if
What's
it's
the
already
time frame
drafted.
for
The
you?
filing deadline's tomorrow for the 27th, so.
Okay, so that's not gonna happen.
So the meeting after that. then.
I've already got the butters list, like the January 6th, the assessors office sent that to me. I've got the stuff drafted, I had these plans drafted.
Okay.
So that's February 10th, and I would say in good faith that it's to be in for February 10th.
Okay,
Alrighty, thank you.
everybody in consensus, ready to go?
Yeah.
Now, aside from what I noticed when I got the plans, that it needed the erosion control added back in because he didn't put in the detail on the erosion control that I had asked him, is there anything else you'd like to see on this plan?
Elevations on that?
The elevations are on it, yes. I can have him highlight them a little bit more.
Yeah, at least bring them to the top, some of them kind of tough to read.
Yeah, I mean, colors.
Access for removal, so it's a designated access.
50
And then no stockpiling in the 100.
So a note for no stockpiling.
Right.
Okay.
The sequence. I mean, but that's
The
part of the
sequence will be in
requirements of the NOI.
the sequence will be in the narrative that I
Make sure
enclosed.
everything that's in the requirements for the NOI are, on here, including the colors so that we can see, and then, details about the invasives. Yeah, have that.
Monitoring.
Yeah, your proposed monitoring schedule.
Yeah, the sequence and the monitoring schedule I enclose in the replication narrative. So I'll make sure that that's as, detailed. And like I said, during the notice of intent process, any refinements or anything to the sequence of the scheduling that you want, we can include in the hearing process.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck this weekend. I hear we're supposed to get some ice too, so hopefully nobody loses power. That would not be fun.
We never lose power in Littleton.
Compared to other towns, I'm
Yeah.
pretty happy here.
No, I know.
I actually used to work in Thamesboro as their conservation director years ago.
Yeah.
And they lose power like all the time. I took my wife up there for lunch over the weekend, and sure enough, they lost power. Bahama breeze, sitting in the
It
corner,
was
sorry, we
windy.
lost power.
Really windy.
First time I've been able to take her off a line.
Okay, is there anything else?
Do we do the CPC membership part of the?
That was as much for me to bug Andrew
Oh, I
about
see.
something, so
Okay.
it was just a
Okay.
state membership
I didn't have
question I
it.
had that I didn't want to forget.
I never checked.
So-
And the only other thing I had was, I do need to circle back with Dan Pickard about the paying license
Oh, right, you sent that to me. I dropped the ball on that.
for the properties, yeah, because it is, 4 pages?
I
And,
thought we were gonna do the other version of
Done
the
at 9
lease.
o'clock isn't happening.
yeah, so let me, I think I have them all stacked up, and I think it was
Yeah,
back
you
in my
sent it to
court.
me. I wanna go back to that
Yeah.
one-page lease.
Yeah.
Point of interest, they're supposed to be talking, the selectmen meeting tonight about
Looks like we're at meeting tonight.
applications for Church Meadows.
Oh, great.
That was on at
Oh, I
8:30
didn't-
tonight.
yeah.
I thought they were at meeting tonight.
Yeah, so I didn't see any cars. when we got
Well,
there.
I'm
I
just,
think they are.
my
Yeah,
son's
there's
supposed to go there at 8:30.
Oh, so you?
And he didn't come up here to.
You're probably
No.
I had a quick question about that property on King Street. It's a field property that's going. Does anybody remember what their erosion control plan looked like, or if they had a SWIP in place? I know they put those straw bales in immediately, but I didn't see any sort of silt fence in. Or,
On,
No, I
on
didn't see
the 9
anything.
Air Road,
yeah, I'm sorry.
where
is
they're
that
taking all the
right?
material out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went in there and I reminded Michael, again, he owes us the fencing for the,
Yeah.
the cutting limit.
Yeah.
They had flagged it, so yeah, we need the fencing up there. Yeah, the hay bales were a mess, but actually, they got the Jersey barriers there. They're behind the Jersey barriers.
Oh yeah, I saw it there, but is that all that the erosion control is called for? I mean,
Yeah,
We didn't.
no, we didn't
Yeah.
catch that.
yeah, it's pretty light.
But that isn't, I've heard rumor there's something else happening there.
Yeah, they're mining.
Yeah, well, it's gonna go down 30 feet.
That's
Take
a
out- take all the good
misrepresentation.
That,
That's what was shown on the plan.
30 feet?
30 feet.
it's not the driveway, it's the,
Yeah.
which I think we
Well,
missed.
outside the buffer. So I
This one.
remember
About the-
asking.
About the what?
They said they were
How
gonna
much?
agree.
for 3-4 acres.
Oh, yeah, they did say they were gonna take all the trees out.
And they'll stay.
But
That's why they
If
were
you remove
planting.
any soil whatsoever,
that was the face of the
there
hill.
are Mass DEP regulations.
They were planting-
That was my
Ensuring you don't
interpretation.
use
My
something
interpretation,
intimidating.
it was gonna be a 30-foot drop from the elevation up above down to the road.
Yeah.
We talked about
Oh,
a
you
ski
mean
slope.
Oh, they took away soil.
They may,
Oh, they made it.
that's where
That's
it's
where it's
rumored.
slow?
So it won't be any slope, actually. It'll be a cut, all right, but it's just, but maybe that's a change of plans too, I don't know.
So Don is here for the 195 to Hadawan, which
Oh, the hearing.
Bruce had asked that it be continued without discussion, but I don't know,
Okay.
since you got,
Sure.
you take it from the planning board side, I don't know if you want to hear it
Sure.
or not, because
You can't though.
the applicant's not here and did ask for it to be continued without discussion.
Well, in fact, I was going to hand the applicant a letter, which I mentioned in the planning board meeting.
Okay.
rather than try to track
I
them.
don't, be careful procedurally, I don't.
Yeah, I'm just,
Well, I
I
did.
don't
I think we can't take anything in, let's see.
I'll distribute this.
She can take it in.
Yeah,
But we
And
can't
distribute it,
discuss
but
it.
we can't take it, we can't
Right,
personally
right.
take it here and we can't discuss it.
Logistically, I thought the planning board was going to close on the project
Yeah.
last week, which is why I quickly wrote this to have it on the
Yeah.
record.
Right.
And I know people aren't ready for the open space assignment, but all of a sudden, things are fragmented, all of a sudden there'll be a quick decision.
Yeah, okay.
And I want to have this ready.
Yep. Yep. So she can
Recommendations.
give it to us, but we can't
Sure,
discuss it.
that's fine. That's only, I mean, things get fragmented between the planning board and
Well, that was a
here.
last minute cancel anyways, wasn't
Every
it?
one was on.
yes. Well, yeah, he meant to cancel on Friday and forgot to call me.
So if there's nothing else,
Okay.
does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All
That
those
was
in
fast.
favor?
I
do that, but.